That's the book. Just came out. Threat to the Gospel, Come Out from the Shadows. It's about the dangers of false teachings on tithing. Let me read what the back says. I recently had a friend tell me that I'm wasting my time discussing the topic of tithing because tithing is about as important as choir robes. The reality is, if a threat to the gospel were only about tithing, whether or not Christians should give 10% of their income to their local congregation, it would hardly have been worth writing. But a threat to the gospel is not just about tithing, it's about much more than that. A threat to the gospel is about preserving the truth of the gospel, understanding God's expectations for believers, what a relationship to the Mosaic Law should be, the truth concerning biblical generosity, a responsibility to support those who serve us in ministry, biblical fellowship, correctly defining sin, proper hermeneutics, and more. And yes, a threat to the gospel is about tithing, but not just tithing. It's about the harmful effects of false teachings on tithing. A threat to the gospel takes you on a journey through Abraham's tithe, Jacob's vow to tithe, tithing under the Mosaic Law, New Testament teachings on generosity, the adoption of tithing by the church, our freedom from the Mosaic Law, and our responsibility to the law of Christ. A threat to the gospel also provides a sound rebuttal to common arguments used to support tithing in the church. A threat to the gospel, once and for all, provides conclusive evidence that God never intended for the church to tithe. Again, it's out now. Get your copy. I didn't write this to make money. I didn't write this to, put myself out there or gain myself any kind of reputation. I wrote this because I believe that God wanted me to write this. That's what it comes down to. And because I love the church, I love God, I love His church, and I believe it's going to help the church. There's a lot in here. In fact, the very center of the book teeters on 2 chapters. They're called Liberty and Love. This is a couple pages away from the center of the book. Love starts, and before that is Liberty. So it talks about our freedom from the Mosaic Law and a responsibility to the law of Christ, which is to love your neighbor as yourself. And there's so much more in there. Again, it walks you on a journey through tithing from the Old Testament on through the Mosaic Law in the Old Testament, onto New Testament teachings about tithing. It talks about liberty, love, the law of Christ. It goes on to discuss tithing, or lack thereof rather, in the early church. When tithing was introduced, which I'll give you a hint, it was not until the 6th century was it ever mandated in the church officially, which tells a lot right there. But it goes on to provide sound rebuttal to common arguments on tithing, and then finally it gets to the chapter titled by the same title as the book, called A Threat to the Gospel, where it explains basically why I wrote this book. Number one, it perverts the gospel. All right, when you preach the law, you pervert the gospel. That's just what happens. Tithing is of the law. We're no longer bound to the law, the Mosaic Law. We are bound to the law of Christ, but not the Mosaic Law. And again, the law of Christ is to love your neighbor as yourself. Finally, there's a bonus chapter in the back, an introduction to hermeneutics. I think that if, I'll read to you what it says here. I sincerely believe that if all Christians faithfully practice the basic principles of interpretation mentioned in this chapter, they would no longer embrace false teachings about tithing. And I think that's what it comes down to. There's a lot of well-meaning Christians that believe in tithing and that tithe themselves and have for years. And some of the most dedicated believers I know are tithers, and they'll stand by that, maybe to the day they die. I don't know, and that's okay. We're under grace, you know what I mean? We're not saved by our understanding on every single doctrine. We're saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ. But I do believe it can negatively affect our individual walk with Christ when we think we're bound to a law or a rule or even an expectation or a quote-unquote standard that we're not. and I believe it can negatively impact a fellowship. Paul said, a little yeast works through the whole batch of dough. So just a hint, just a little tad of the law, just a little taste of it can negatively impact a fellowship of believers. So there it is. Out now, get your copy. Again, I didn't write this for money. I didn't write this for my own good, although it helped me a lot studying. 6 years of studying and writing, it helped me a lot. I grew a lot, learned a lot writing this. And I hope it helps you too. I hope that you read it and it helps you grow and to learn a lot. The church, we're here to build each other up. And this is just something that God gave me to do to help build the church up. And I'm encouraged by so many things that other believers do, whether it's music ministry, or I go on TikTok or YouTube and watch videos of people preaching and talking about the gospel. We build each other up. And this is something that, like I said, God gave me to do to help build you up, build the church up. So I hope you read it. I hope you're encouraged. And God bless you. If you're interested in purchasing a copy, just go to threadtothegospel.com. That'll take you to the official Thread to the Gospel website. Click Purchase Book. You'll have the choice to purchase it in paperback from Barnes & Noble or Amazon Books, or you can get it in ebook format from Apple or Kindle. For a limited time, you can get the paperback version from Ingram Spark at a discounted rate. If you can't afford to purchase a copy, that's okay. Just click this PDF right here, and you can read for free right here online. Now, after you read it, please do come back and leave a review and tell me what you think. I look forward to hearing from you soon. God bless.